Hi everyone, it's Dr. RAMANI. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism, narcissistic relationships, and how to heal from narcissistic and antagonistic relationships. We're talking about love today. And some of you might be thinking, huh, what? Because you know love is not my strong suit on this channel. But it's actually a really important topic because it explains, understanding love explains so much of the harm created by these relationships characterized by so much invalidation and just other toxic stuff. Most of you who have been through narcissistic relationships are actually really good at loving people. And this is relevant, whether this is a romantic relationship, parental relationship, family relationship, or even a friendship. We don't tend to talk about love when we talk about workplace stuff. But in these narcissistic relationships, you loved them. Maybe you still do. Now, as kids, you don't have as much of a choice, right? Loving a parent is part of seeking attachment. Love is how we foster social bonds, and it's good for us. A healthy, loving relationship has tremendous benefits. To love is a healthy state. There are so many benefits to loving. Neuroscientists, social psychologists, clinical psychologists, hell, even philosophers are all going to say love is good. Unless you are loving someone where it is not mutual and reciprocal, and most importantly, where you're being invalidated. Not so healthy. Because love is a two-part process. Part of the grand problem is, what does it mean to love someone? Is it just a feeling? Is it behaviors? Is it just telling someone that you love them? Because of the lack of agreement on even what constitutes love, it can get confusing. And I think most of us would acknowledge, well, love is a mix of all of those things. But telling someone, I love you, while betraying them, or never acknowledging them, or devaluing their needs, that doesn't ring true though, does it? To love means consistency between what a person says and does and feels. And there is a second half to this equation. Folks who are going through or have been through narcissistic and invalidating relationships have the love someone part down. But the second part of this, the second half of it, is to be loved. What does it mean to be loved? To receive it and even to expect it. It's to not have defenses up against it. It's to feel safe in the idea of being loved, to believe it will be sustaining, to revel in the experience of it all. And frankly, for anyone who's been through any kind of either traumatic or invalidating or antagonistic or narcissistic relationship, this is the hard part. And because this ability to be loved does not get honed in people, we almost just slide into these imbalanced relationships in which you are really good at loving someone, telling them, doing stuff for them, staying in touch, communicating, making sacrifices, but really bad at being loved. If you have been a survivor of narcissistic abuse in any form, family, close relationships, even friendships, love and closeness are fraught spaces. It's a lot of giving, a lot of hope that it will someday get better, a lot of becoming smaller and smaller every day to make it last, a lot of sacrifice. But what it is not, is a place where you can learn to receive it. The inconsistency, the selfishness, the good days and then the bad days, or the good hours and then the bad hours, all mean that you are more in control if you are the giver. And it can feel that there is not only much benefit to learning how to receive love, it also feels like it's not a very useful skill. Being the one who only gives, in a strange way, lets you be in control in places that often don't feel very much in your control. But there is life after these relationships. Many people find healthy, loving relationships after they grow up and away from narcissistic families. People go through narcissistic relationships and they individuate and finally allow themselves to lean fully into themselves and then find healthier relationships down the road. But for that to happen, you have to get the receiving part, the ability to receive love, down. This is not easy to learn. There can be a suspicion at receiving it, that lingering doubt of, oh great, now I owe them something. Or if I get too comfortable, when will things change again? And all of this is predicated on you evolving past trauma-bonded formats for relationships where love gets conflated with chaos. To be loved is to trust, to feel safe, to exhale, to shift your beliefs about yourself, to recognize that love is not quid pro quo, to know that in a healthy relationship, the so-called give and take feels natural and not transactional. This is something that leaves someone feeling a little unsafe, or even, who do I think I am sitting here thinking that I could receive love? Sadly, that is the legacies, or the legacy, I should say, of these toxic relationships that leave you feeling unworthy. But you are worthy, we all are, of receiving love from another person. When we talk about narcissistic relationships, we spend a lot of time on the architecture and the problems. But there is life after these relationships, and finding your stride after a narcissistic relationship means learning skill sets you didn't get to learn or that may have been too risky to learn. Learning to be loved is one of them. So yeah, no, I don't talk a lot about love because it's a very fraught space when it comes to narcissistic relationships. But it's also a life force that's really, really important to have in your life. And the way it works is you go out there, it's great, love people. But if it becomes an entirely one-way relationship, that is not good for you. And that, unfortunately, is what does happen in narcissistic relationships. Thanks again.